and every Wednesday we are joined on the Boardwalk Hunter Hotline by Dave Weinberg at Dave Weinberg 19 on Twitter. As it feels like no matter what happens, we can't get away from Eagles news, and Dave is kind enough to oblige us with his time here on 97.3 ESPN. Dave, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, Josh. How are you?
Doing pretty good. So apparently the latest thing this week with the Eagles is there's apparently trouble in paradise, supposedly, depending on who you ask. What do you read into this whole fiasco about there's a so for those who haven't read the story, apparently there's this big war in the Eagles front office between the analytics guys and the football guys, and that Jeffrey Lurie kind of operates as like the arbiter of like both sides of it. The whole story just screams more of this strangeness that goes on in the Eagles organization.
Yeah, it's very odd, Josh. I know that Jeffrey Lurie, I've always known Jeffrey Lurie to be pretty heavily involved with things, but I just didn't realize it was to that degree. The fact that he has his thumb on the entire franchise, the fact that Doug Peterson had to undergo weekly meetings every Tuesday, even after winning the Super Bowl. They were questioning him, why didn't you throw the ball more after you beat Green Bay on the road? Then the following week, the same thing. It's just, it just seems like they were overly critical about things. And I understand analytics play a part in sports nowadays, but I think that Doug Peterson had earned that cachet, if you will, by winning the Super Bowl. He didn't need to be questioned every week about whether he even win or lose.
Well, not just they earned the cachet, but he's winning football games. Like the whole story about the Packers when Jeffrey Lurie was unhappy after the win because they ran the ball too much. They said like this idea that like the ultimate goal should be winning and losing. Not how you won or lost the game. There's no such thing as a pretty loss. It's either you win or you lose the game, and it feels like that the organization is suffering paralysis by overanalysis here.
Yeah, I don't understand it. I mean, like you said, winning is the ultimate goal, and they were winning. So why are you questioning it? Why are you worried about it? I don't understand. And I'm just surprised that Jeffrey is so meddlesome. I mean, I knew he was involved, like I said, but I didn't expect it to be this degree where he's like questioning everything. He hired an analytics guy. He put them in another side of the building, except for the coaching staff and the analytics guys are arguing back and forth. It just seems like a really dysfunctional franchise. And, I was surprised that even one person in this story said, how we won the Super Bowl was as a total shock, given all that's happened in the last few years. The whole thing is just a big circus right now, it seems like.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And Dave, you've seen the Eagles organization from the beginning of the Jeffrey Lurie era to now, and it seems like that. And I don't know how true this is. Some people are suggesting that he's become more involved since the firing of Andy Reid, and that the Super Bowl emboldened him to be more involved. And you know what? That kind of, I'm not saying it's the same, but it sounds a little familiar because that's what happened with Jerry Jones down in Dallas. Once he started winning championships, he was like, I know what I'm doing. And I don't understand what is up with these guys. It's like they have success and then it goes to their head. It's like, no, if the wheel works, why are you trying to reinvent it?
Right. I mean, you can look around the league at the different owners. I mean, Robert Kraft has certainly had his problems off the field, but he's not going to question Bill Belichick about things. And you can look at Arthur Blank in Atlanta, same thing. He's not. There's just. I understand how important it is, and it's kind of like a toy to play with when you're an owner of an NFL team. I understand that you put out a lot of money, but the best thing you can do is just step aside and let the football people make the football decisions. I know you can play fantasy football. You can judge the drafts however you want. You can listen to Mel Kiper and the various analysts, but there comes a time you've hired these guys to run your football team, so just sit back and let them run it.
Dave Weinberg joining us for a Weinberg Wednesday here on 97.3 ESPN at Dave Weinberg 19 on Twitter. Check out his extra point columns over at 97.3 ESPN.com. Dave, one more thing on the Eagles front, and there's a part of me that really wonders. when I look at the organization, I listen. Anybody who has half a brain knows if you are either an Eagles fan or you cover the team, you want the team to be successful. No one roots for them to not have success. But there's a part of me that
Sure.
wonders, does this thing need to crash and burn so they learn their lesson? Like, does Jeffrey Lurie have to hit rock bottom for him to maybe realize, or is he just too far gone at this point?
Yeah, I don't think that's going to help. He seems to be set in his ways to the point where he's almost expecting them to fail for the next couple of years. But if they turn around and they win, like say in the next 3, 4 years, then he's going to say, I told you so. I knew what I was doing all along. I think the best thing they can do is I don't believe in this rebuilding stuff in the NFL. I think you can turn it around relatively quickly. Um, I don't think the Eagles need to go 3-13 or 2-14 or 2-15 now with 17 games. I just think you can get back into contention relatively fast, and I'm just I'm hoping, or I'm sure Eagles fans are hoping that Jeffrey will realize that and just like I said, sit back, sit in your luxury box, enjoy the games, offer some insights if you want. If you want to meet with the coaches every week, go ahead. But just sit back and let the football people run the football team. And I think that he'll be relatively pleased with the results. And, that would be my suggestion for him.
Speaking of results, we saw over the weekend someone get some pretty incredible results at the Masters. Hideki Matsuyama. I mean, the way he handled those final 2 days of the tournament, while other golfers were flailing around him, was incredible. And I understand that it maybe lost a little juice because there wasn't as much direct competition on Sunday. But to me, one of the things that makes an individual sport like golf or tennis great is that when you see someone have success and they do it in a way that's impressive, to me, that in and of itself is great. And I thought to see him, the way he reacted, the fact that he has a history with the Masters, I just feel like there's so much storyline that just made the Masters Sunday that much more enjoyable than maybe if it was, no offense to like Jordan Spieth, but it's like you're not getting that kind of storyline if Spieth wins it.
Yeah, everybody was. I heard some, well, not everybody, but I heard some people complaining on social media about how boring it was because Tiger Woods wasn't involved. Well, not to me. I mean, what Matsuyama did, especially on Saturday on the back nine, he essentially took the control of the tournament there. I know people were a little, I don't know, say disappointed, but surprised that he kind of slipped a little bit on Sunday. But he did what he had to do. I mean, he made the shots that he had to make. He scored the way he needed to score. He knew he had a little bit of a cushion there, so he didn't have to take any unnecessary chances. Granted, he made some mistakes, but I thought he did an excellent job of handling the pressure, especially. I mean, I don't know if people realize the amount of scrutiny and pressure that he undergoes in being a Japanese golfer. I mean, the media is just they're all about him. I mean, there's dozens, if not hundreds, of people following him and reporting on his every move. I think it was a little bit less this year because of the limited media availability, but still, he knew that an entire nation was following him, and for him to perform under that kind of pressure was really impressive.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me like Yao Ming, when he came to the NBA, that kind of like insanity where it's like everywhere he went, everything he did. And people don't know this, don't realize, because I was hearing about this over the weekend. Golf is actually apparently really big over there in Japan.
Yeah.
So like this is not
Very
like this isn't some anomaly here, okay? This is a guy who the country and him and everybody involved is invested in his success. And listen, I almost fell out of my seat when I heard Andy Norris say that, the potential, this is not just, life-changing in terms of his profession, but there's a chance that Matsuyama could make up to $1 billion for the rest of his life in terms of endorsements just because he won the Masters. So, I mean, this wasn't just him winning his historic tournament. This is literally life-changing.
Oh yeah, I mean, he's an icon in Japan now. It's kind of like I guess a close analogy might be Manny Pacquiao in the Philippines. Just the fact that he was so popular, actually now is in their government, and
Right.
I don't know if it's Congress or what have you, but yeah, it's just amazing the opportunities that are now going to open up for him, and they're well deserved too. I mean, he's been he's been so close. He's been on the cusp for a number of years now. Everybody knows he was the top amateur at the Masters, I guess, 10 years ago. So for him to continue to plug along, continue to hone his craft, and it paid off for him this weekend. It was really neat to see.
Dave Weinberg joining us for a Weinberg Wednesday here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN at Dave Weinberg 19 on Twitter. Speaking of people who are having a good time right now, Dave, I never thought in my life I would ever say that Mike Trout is playing better than I've ever seen him until the last 2 weeks. I think this might be the best I've ever seen Mike Trout play. It's not just because of the power, but he's leading the league in walks with 11. His slugging percentage is ridiculous. It's over like 700 on base over 50% of the time. I mean, we might literally be seeing the best player in baseball playing the best he ever has at age 29. And I never thought I would say that because I felt like we've already seen what he could do. And now it's like, oh, wait a minute, I got another level to this thing.
Yeah, I mean, I get a little bit of a chuckle out of people who kind of thought maybe he wasn't the best anymore, that there were some younger guys getting ready to take over that mantle, but he's gone out and shown already in this season that he has no equal when it comes to baseball. He is the best in the game. He's one of the best to ever play. And you're right. I mean, to see him take that to another level is it's just mind boggling. Just when you think that he's at his best, he's better. And it's really cool, and especially the fact that it's a local kid. Everybody's invested around the area in him, and it has a little special soft spot in their heart for him, I think. And it's just ridiculous the things that he's accomplishing right now.
Yeah, and it kind of reminds me of, for me at least, I remember years ago when Griffey had that 97 season, when he hit 56 home runs, had almost 150 RBIs. It was like, at that point, I think he had just turned 27 that year, and we all thought, hey, we know what Griffey is, right? And then he takes his game to a whole nother level, and you're just like, whoa, like, all right, you had more in the bag. And it feels like it's a similar thing with Mike, where it's like, it's almost like we have to just take away the expectation at this point and just say, you know what, this guy's the best player in the game, and just roll with it and just enjoy the show, because realistically, the only thing he's not doing is pitching. And realistically, if he wanted to do that, he probably could, because if Ohtani can do it, I'm sure Mike could do it if he wanted to.
Yeah, he was actually a pretty good pitcher in high school, but not to the level that he is as an outfielder and slugger here. But yeah, I mean, it's just incredible to see, and I'm really hoping that just for his sake, that the Angels are able to make the playoffs and to maybe have some postseason success. I mean, because he's waited for so long, and the knock has always been that you're great, but you haven't done much in the postseason. And I would really love to see the Angels have a good year. They're off to a very good start, so hopefully they'll be able to keep it up.
Dave Weinberg joining us here for a Weinberg Wednesday here on 97.3 ESPN at Weinberg19 on Twitter. Also, the podcast is Tequila and Touchdowns with Dave Weinberg. Dave, one more before I let you go. I noticed a few days ago that you mentioned on Twitter about how, because you're a boxing guy, you covered the sport for a very long time, and you mentioned that you're getting tired of seeing all these fights that are happening everywhere but Atlantic City. And I recorded an interview. I'm going to air it on Friday with the PFL CEO of PFL MMA. And one of the things he told me, and people could hear it for themselves on Friday, is that he said, part of the reason why they're coming back to Atlantic City is because of the amenities. It's because of the history in the city. It's because of the fact that they can go to Ocean and they can literally have a bubble environment. They're gonna have nobody else in the building but the fighters and the crew. They're not even gonna have fans there. And they said it was because Atlantic City was able to offer them things that other cities couldn't. I'm sitting here thinking, while I'm listening to this as I'm recording it with him, I'm thinking, wait a minute. So the MMA guy gets this, but boxing doesn't think they can have fights in Atlantic City. It's just such a strange difference there, where you have one side of the fight game saying, we are coming to Atlantic City because they can offer us what we can't get anywhere else. But then on the other side of the fight game, boxing is like, thanks, but no thanks, it seems like.
Yeah, I think maybe part of the problem is that the PFL have some sort of history with Atlantic City. They've had their season here, 2 of the last 3 years, so they know they have a very good relationship with Ocean and vice versa, so they were able to make things work. Um, some of these other boxing promoters and organizations, they've since like left. I don't want to say abandoned Atlantic City, but they're used to putting like the top ranks and the zones and the PBC. They're used to putting on shows and promoting fights in other areas. So I guess those were the first locations that they went to. But I mean, I was watching Jerron Boots Ennis. I don't know if you know who he is, but he might be the best of these. He's the next wave of the big, great Philly fighters. And watching him on Showtime on Saturday night, I just kept thinking, man, this belongs in Atlantic City. The kid's fought here like 5, 6, 7 times. If he ever gets a title shot, which he should in the next fight or two, I'm really hoping that someone, I don't care if it's Hard Rock or Boardwalk Hall or Ocean or even, I don't know, Claridge or Showboat, anybody, they have to get together and bring boxing back. It's such an important part of the fabric of Atlantic City. And I'm just really sick of having to watch these guys fight elsewhere.
Follow me on Twitter at Dave Weinberg 19 for all of that and more about the Eagles, baseball, boxing, golf. Dave's got you covered on all fronts. And again, the podcast, as I mentioned, is Tequila and Touchdowns with Dave Weinberg. And as all guests, he appeared on the Boardwalk kind of hotline and live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter in virtual color. Dave, good to see you. Appreciate you jumping on. We'll catch you next week.
Thanks, Josh. I really appreciate it. Talk to you next week.